no. Come on, where is it?
Dave, it's your Idaho Central app here. Any chance you're missing a debit card? Let's get that taken care of for you. With ICCU's card control, you can turn any card off with the tap of your finger.
You got it.
And back on again. Out, 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 out. The closest Idaho Central Credit Union branch is in your pocket.
Pow day.
Dude, let's go.
This is Bronco Nation News Live. The best interviews, the most informed opinions, the latest breaking news, all from the top Boise State insiders. Bronco Nation News Live from BroncoNationNews.com is presented by RowPaint.com, the official paint and coatings company of Boise State Athletics. All Bronco Nation news broadcasts come from the Western Collective Studios. Head down to Western Collective's locations in Garden City or downtown Boise to try some of their delicious beers, including the Horseshoe Golden Ale, the first beer to support an NIL collective. Now, here's four-time NSMA Idaho Sports Writer of the Year, BJ Rains, with another edition of Bronco Nation News Live.
Well, good morning from one of the best places in the history of this universe, Circa Resort and Casino, the largest sports book in the history of sports books. Circa Sports right here, Mike Prater in heaven as we speak. Oh, man, it was great to walk into this place around 7:30 this morning, and on the odds boards right here, front and center, the college basketball crown, the 4 games on tap today, kicking off at noon Pacific time with Utah and Butler. And there you see it, 2:30 tonight, Boise State, a 9-point favorite, Mike Prater, 9 points now. And I walked into the lobby, and look at this, Mike Prater. There is an actual crown statue in the lobby of Circa Resort and Casino. Folks getting their pictures with this thing. It is a legendary statue and crown, the first of its kind. They had to find a service door to get this thing through the door. It was so big, but it's in the lobby. It's at Circa. We're ready to go, Mike Prater. Postseason basketball has arrived in Boise, Idaho. How are we doing, Mike Prater?
Oh, that's the greatest entrance. That's the greatest opening in the history of Bronco Nation News. And it's Monday morning, and that's what makes it even better that BJ's roaming around a casino. Not just a casino. I'm with you, man. Our favorite casino of all time. Love that place, and I can feel the vibes from here. We're still here in Boise. You're there in Las Vegas, but way to start a Monday. Way to start off a new week, and I'm looking forward to it. This is going to be fun. So well, let's talk a little bit of excitement. Let's talk a little bit of reality. Let's talk a little Boise State basketball as we approach April, for crying out loud.
I don't know if this is good or bad, Mike Prater. I don't know why I thought of you, but I'm getting off the plane. It's literally 6:35 Pacific time in Las Vegas. I got up at about 3:45 this morning, had some kids' baseball games last night, stayed in town, but it's 6:35 a.m. Pacific time. It's a Monday morning. I'm walking one way, all happy to be in Las Vegas, and you got the other folks folks that are drunk, hungover, out of money, walking the other way towards their gate. And all I could think of for some reason was Mike Prater. I'm just not sure why, but
I'm honored and I'm blessed. And BJ, I've been there. I've done that. And I don't know if I've ever done a Sunday night to a Monday morning bender before. I'm assuming somewhere in my Vegas annals that has happened, but that's a hardcore to do the all night Sunday night thing and wake up on Monday. If you're banging the casino at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock on a Monday morning, that's hardcore, my friend.
And then I got into Circa and saw the old ladies that playing the penny slots that have probably been up for 2 hours already, getting after it as well. So love Vegas, love Circa. And as much as we'd like for Boise State to have been playing in the NCAA tournament, I'm not going to complain about a couple more days, hopefully a week down here for the crown. Mike, what is your kind of interest level in this tournament? And I do want to get to your column on Leon Rice, just an outstanding column. I hope folks go to Bronco Nation News and check it out. You got to hang out with Leon Rice and gain a new perspective, the personal side of Leon Rice. We're definitely going to dive into that. We're not sugarcoating this thing. It's a secondary tournament. I get it. It's not, winning this tournament doesn't make it a successful season all of a sudden. I understand that, but all things considered, the crown today, there's only 4 teams left in the NCAA tournament. I think 4 left in the NIT. I mean, you count the 16 playing right now. There's literally about 24 teams left playing college basketball still. So from that perspective, it's a little cool. But just what's kind of your thoughts, just your interest level, I guess, as Boise State takes the floor this afternoon?
This has absolutely nothing to do with the column. This has absolutely nothing to do with Leon and I spending a couple of hours together last week and getting a new perspective on this program. But I'm going to, for the first time in the history of life, I'm going to criticize you for not giving Boise State enough credit when it comes to basketball. I'm going to correct you. If Boise State wins this tournament, I really do think it's a success because they've done something that they've never done before. And you're right. You're 1,000% right when you say this tournament. I happen to think this tournament's kind of dumb, but it gives Boise State and this basketball family an opportunity to do something they've never done before. And I was thinking about this last night. And again, I was thinking about it this morning in terms of all of Boise State's postseason accomplishments. And that track record is long, and we've talked about it a lot. So I don't need to repeat it. If they go on a deep run and win this tournament, I think that is a successful thing. Anytime you get a chance to hang a banner, I don't care what it says. Anytime you get a chance to be a champion, I don't care what kind of tournament it is. I think this is a big milestone for Boise State basketball. Yes, eventually they need to get in the NCAAs. They need to go on a run. I want to talk about a Fiesta Bowl moment. Winning this tournament would not be a Fiesta Bowl moment for this basketball program, but it's a step in the right direction and an opportunity that they've never had before. I think the end game is pretty cool for this program.
Well, as I said, stop by the sports book this morning, Mike Prater. I got the odds back on the screen here. Boise State favored by 9 points in this opening game. You see the other 3 games all pretty close, point spreads, close games, but Boise State a 9-point favorite in this game today. George Washington is 21-12 on the season. Had a solid season in the A-10, went 9-9. But the metrics, the odds makers have Boise State as a 9-point favorite. You mentioned the tournament being dumb. I think was the word you used, Mike Prater. I'm not sure what word you used, but the money on the line, and I know your Utah Utes are, I'm sure, super pumped to be playing in this tournament down here. You've got a Colorado team who I think went 3-17 in the Big 12 this year. You've got 5 Big 12 teams in this tournament, some other teams in this tournament. By the way, I just realized I'm talking kind of loud, and someone's probably trying to sleep right now in the room next to me. So if I get an angry bang on the door here, you may have to call security.
I can do that.
Just in general, the money that's on the line, a chance to play here. I mean, from everything I've heard, Mike Prater, this Boise State perspective, it's been a first-class experience. They got the charter flight down there, and they've got all kinds of nice amenities at the hotel, and it's been first-class. Fox is doing this thing up big. You got Tim Brando on the call today on FS1. Gus Johnson takes over for the quarterfinals later this week and the semifinals and finals. I mean, again, it's not the big tournament, but it is an opportunity, and probably a better opportunity than the NIT or the CBI or the CIT to try to finish on a high note here. Big picture, though, just the thought behind this thing, the NIL behind this thing, the money that's at stake here. Maybe just expand a little on why you're not super excited about the tournament as a whole.
Well, yeah, I'm looking at it as a whole from a distance on the outside in terms of the tournament and where it sits in the grand scheme of things. Outside of 16 fan bases and probably not even that many, I'm not even sure how engaged Boise State fans, especially at 3:30 on a Monday afternoon, if they win this game, maybe we'll start to get some momentum. I think externally it is kind of a dumb tournament because I think all postseason basketball tournaments outside of the NCAA tournament are kind of ridiculous. But by all accounts, and more, but having spent some time with this program last week, the behind the scenes stuff and everything that's going on, it is first class. This tournament is being run by AEG, which is a massive program, and in conjunction with Fox. AEG, by the way, owns Madison Square Garden, owns the Forum in Los Angeles, is one of the most powerful sports marketing arms in all of athletics, not only nationally, but internationally. And then you throw Fox in there and what they're doing. And I like the side stuff, the money stuff. I got a serious money question for you. I got a homework assignment for you in a minute here on the money. But I think all that stuff is cool. The charter stuff. This tournament is being run by Leon Rice's former agent. I think he's the executive director of this tournament. And Leon Rice speaks highly of his former agent. I forget his name. But there's the connection there, the trust value in terms of Leon, and they're running it. So I think behind the scenes, it's fantastic. Everybody gets to stay at the MGM. They get a chance to play basketball there. They get a chance to move over to T-Mobile Arena. If they win tonight, I believe they get to go to a Vegas Golden Knights hockey game tomorrow, or maybe there's another opportunity on Thursday. They're trying to do all the right things behind the scenes, and that part is cool. I guarantee you, Tyson Degenhart, as long as he wins a basketball game, is going to have a lot of fun at this tournament. The rest of us, we may watch, we may not watch. We'll see what kind of momentum is built throughout the week, and at that point, it probably becomes a pretty cool deal, especially if they win it all.
And again, I don't know how many times I have to say this, 'cause I'm sure somebody in the chat's going to say, oh, here's BJ hyping this thing up as, a bigger deal than the Final Four or whatever. I'm not. It's a secondary tournament. I totally understand that. But you mentioned AEG, getting your foot in the door with them and Fox and games like this and things like this. They're going to the Maui Invitational in November, which is a big-time tournament with ESPN. To get their foot in the door with some of these bigger companies, marketing companies, tournaments, and really start to get the Boise State brand out there. I mean, this is, could be the start, especially if they can win this thing or have a nice showing here of some bigger opportunities probably for the basketball program down the road.
I would imagine that's how it works. Absolutely, that's kind of how it works. So, again, it's a nice opportunity. Here's my money question for you. And everybody keeps talking about if you get to the Final Four, you're guaranteed $50,000. If you get to the semifinals, it's $100,000. Well, if you lose the championship game, it's $100,000. If you win the championship game, it's $300,000. Up until a couple of days ago over the weekend, as I was doing some research for that column that's at BNN, I always thought it was just, okay, if you win the tournament, here's $300,000 cash, put it in your pocket and figure out how you want to distribute it. Kind of like World Series rings, World Series shares. Everybody gets to decide.
Mm-hmm.
I went through and read the official tournament rules, and I always get kind of stuck up on money and names. There was a clause in one of these official tournament rules that said it creates an NIL endorsement opportunity, and there was even a sponsor attached to it, like Vivid Seats. Vivid Seats. So does that mean that they have to do a whole bunch of endorsements for Vivid Seats, commercials, appearances, all that kind of stuff in conjunction with this $300,000? I wanted some clarification on that, on the cash and the NIL and exactly what it means, because Vivid Seats endorsement opportunity is different to me than $300,000 of NIL cash. At the end of the day, it might be the same thing, but I was very curious about that part.
And I'll have to do a little more research, but my understanding, Mike, is just with the NIL and the rules and stuff, you have to do something to get the $300,000. You just can't. They just can't hand you legally $300,000 without doing something. So I mean, it might be one tweet,
and something isn't winning the tournament.
Well, I mean, in terms of to receive the quote NIL money, like what are they doing in return, I guess, to get the money? And I guess you could say it's the helping with the rate. I don't know how the rules are written, but my understanding is like for that Players Era tournament that they have in November with all those big schools, they have to like the next morning before they leave town, go to a hospital and make an appearance or something. Like there's something you have to tie it somehow into community service, into charity, into marketing a company, something somehow. So my understanding is it might literally be as simple as sending out one Instagram post, one tweet, hey, go get your tickets at Vivid Seats, thank you, Vivid Seats. I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
think it's going to be some huge thing where they're having a lot of work they actually have to do in return for the payment. I think it's just a semantics thing to make it legal, where they would probably just send out one kind of social media post for Vivid Seats. I don't think it's that big of a deal, but
Sniff around on that. Just sniff around on the rules, because I'm mostly just curious about that.
Yeah, and
that makes sense. And they're not going to make these guys do a year-long advertising campaign or anything too complicated. I get that, but I was just kind of very curious, mostly because I'm not being negative here. I'm not being skeptical. This is a learning opportunity. This is a learning opportunity for Leon Rice, for you, for me, for the fans, for Tyson Degenhardt, for this team. We've never experienced this kind of thing before. It's new. It's kind of cool. And I was just kind of curious about the wording of that. So sniff around and see what that means. I'm very curious.
And it's a very small chance, but what if Tyson Degenhardt had a deal with Ticketmaster or with StubHub, and all of a sudden Vivid Seats comes along and wants him to do something for them, and then he doesn't get paid or something? I mean, it's a very small chance, but I mean, what if Boise State's a Nike school and they have a deal with Nike, and then Tyson Degenhardt's got a deal with Nike, and all of a sudden Under Armour is the sponsor of this thing? I mean, there are some I guess logistics and semantics and potential problems down the road, I guess, you could have with something like this.
Yeah, very curious, very curious. So yeah, sniff around and do me a favor, ask a couple questions, and I'm just kind of mostly curious. And it's fascinating how college sports work anymore in terms of the semantics and the employee status and the NIL and all this other kind of fun stuff. It's cool, and I can't imagine. And we were both at practice in the press conference the other day, but these guys are playing for prize money, and that's kind of cool. I mean, they got to win 2 games, and you can't get too far ahead of yourself, but college kids playing for prize money like this is Wimbledon, a tennis tournament or something? Are you kidding me? It's kind of weird.
Yeah, and that's where I actually thought you were going with the question about doing the homework, was how they were going to disperse up the money. Because I guess, and you may know better than me from your private conversations with Leon Rice, but it sounds like they're going to come up with 3 or 4 different options and let the players vote. And I don't know if that vote comes before the tournament, after the tournament, what. But I mean, you could just, flat out everybody on the roster, walk-on scholarship players, everybody. We're splitting this thing 12 ways or whatever. It could be scholarship players. It could be players that have played this season. Maybe red shirts and walk-ons. They say, we'll give you a couple grand, and then just to make you happy. And then the bulk of the money is going to get divided amongst the players that have actually played during this stretch. Because with Anderson and Lockett now being gone, Mike Prater, that's two less guys to take part of the prize pool. And now everybody else that's pretty much active on this roster are guys that have played in games in terms of scholarship players. So every scholarship player that is available that's not redshirting probably will play in this tournament. So do those guys get 90% of it, and then you just give $2,500 maybe to the 1%, or however you break it down, to the walk-on and red shirts? I mean, nothing against an Ethan Lathan. I mean, he could maybe get a little bit of money, but if he's not even playing in the tournament and he's redshirting, I'm not sure he should get the same amount as a Tyson Degenhardt. But you also want to keep guys happy, and it'll be interesting to see how they divide this money up.
Yeah, and during that project, doing my research for that project for the column last week, I did learn something about this basketball team, and this is part of the family atmosphere that Leon Rice has created. I didn't realize this. He gives NIL money to every player on his roster, whether they're scholarship guys or walk-ons. And it's a tiered system, so the guys you were talking about don't make as much money as the Tyson Degenhardts of the world. Leon Rice talked about how they're going to work with this prize pool if they win a couple of games. He's told the leadership group to be ready to have a conversation. I don't think he wants to address it until at least after tonight's game, and maybe even after Wednesday's game, because that's when the money kicks in. And he doesn't want them chasing money when they don't when you have to win 2 games first. But he was going to have them vote, kind of like a World Series team. Hey, we just won the World Series. What kind of shares? Everybody, I would assume, just based on the fact that everybody gets NIL money, even the walk-on scrubs, I would imagine everybody's going to get some cash. Here's the question for me, though. There's like the student manager, and because they're taking 25, 30 family members on this basketball road trip. Outside of the adults, does everybody get a little piece of the pie? That's kind of cool, too.
Well, you mentioned the World Series shares. I mean, there's some teams like the Yankees who traditionally will give the bat boy a share and give all the other clubhouse guys a share, and then and really spread it around. And if folks don't understand how that works, we'll just it's a much smaller or much larger number, but just to make it even, we'll just say $1 million, say, as a playoff share for a team that wins, and every round you go goes further in baseball. So just say that, it's probably $20 million, whatever, but just say the Yankees get $1 million. They can decide how many people, everyone that's been on the roster the entire season, I believe, has a vote in how they give the money out. And some teams are a little more frugal with the money or whatever, and the Yankees will give it to the bat boy and the trainer, whatever else, and anyone that played for one pitch of one game on the regular season. Some teams will say you deserve a full share. Some will say partial share if you play this amount, if you were a starter. There's different ways you can divvy up the money, and that's kind of what it's a new era here, Mike Prater, of being able to, like you said, and really it's just the one game tonight. If they win the game tonight, I keep saying tonight, it's a 3:30 Central Time, 2:30 Mountain Time game. But if they win tonight, Mike, then all of a sudden they go into the game on Wednesday knowing there's $50,000 on the line. You get through one game tonight, and all of a sudden there's $50,000 on the line in Wednesday's game against either Utah or Butler, and that's just a new thing that we're not familiar with, not used to around here. And maybe for Tyson Degenhardt, sure. He made, a couple $100,000 in NIL money this year. He's got a professional career ahead of him. Omar Stanley has done okay, some of these guys. But if you are a Pearson Carmichael or an Andrew Meadow or what's an RJ Keene's a good example. These guys, if they win the tournament, have a chance to get $25,000, $30,000, which in an RJ Keene's case might be more NIL money than he made all season. So this is $300,000. I'd like to see the prize pool eventually get up where you can say it's $1 million on the line or whatever. $300,000 is kind of a weird number. It's $500,000 total for the whole tournament, but and it may not seem like it to some guys, but $25,000-$30,000 is per player potentially is a significant amount of money here.
Yeah, no, I think it is cool, and I like the fact that some of these, the non-Tyson Degenhardts of the world are going to get a chance to do it. So I just think it's cool. Everybody likes to play for money. Everybody likes to chase money. It just brings a different aspect to this. So that's a good way to say it in terms of if you get past today, you are playing for money on Wednesday, and that's a big deal. So I'm very curious. By the way, I just do want to make sure this is 2:30 Vegas time, 3:30 Boise time is today's game. Is that correct?
Yes, 3:30 Boise time. If I've said it wrong, I apologize. I'm on 3 hours of sleep, and I also get the time frame here and trying to tell my dad what time the game is, Central Time to watch. And so, yeah, I'm screwing around. Multiple time zones here, but it is 2:30 in Vegas, 3:30 back in Boise on Fox Sports 1. As I mentioned, they are a 9-point favorite. KenPom has this at 8 points. George Washington, 21 wins on the season. They lost to George Mason in the one of the, the quarterfinals of the Atlantic 10 tournament. They don't have a ton of great wins. They beat Dayton, who's 77th at KenPom this year. But for the most part, they've kind of, beaten who they should and lost to who they should. But 21 wins. They got a big guy, Mike Prater, who is a force down in the paint, 6'11" guy. If anybody wants to read Nathan Carroll's article, he has a preview up with more of a, X's and O's and numbers, look at George Washington. But the matchup favors Boise State, it fairly significantly in a lot of different categories and things. But as you know, Mike Prater, I've had a lot of people saying, oh, does Boise State seem motivated for this thing? I've thought that before for bowl games, and I've seen teams come out and just get waxed. This tournament, you've sat around for 2 weeks to play. This is the ultimate who wants to be here and who doesn't type of tournament, and really have no idea, point spreads, whatever. You kind of throw that out the window because you've got guys in the portal that aren't here, guys in the portal that are here but still playing. It's just a very unique tournament from that perspective. And, George Washington, as I said, won 21 games and has, a 6'11" center and a couple of guys that are decent players. And, who knows if they want to be here or not, if they want to take this thing seriously and they want to win some money, maybe they come out as the more motivated team. I think that maybe more of a case with some of these Power 5 teams. Like I said, a Colorado went 3-17 in conference, or a UCF or some of these teams. But I certainly think that the motivation, which we know little of, will have a lot to say in this tournament.
Yeah, it's kind of like bowl season, where the motivation is the big factor, especially for 90% of the bowl games that don't involve chasing a national championship. Motivation is a big deal. And I'll take this shameless plug for the opportunity to talk about my beloved Utes a little bit. How messed up is this? And, I don't really follow Utah basketball that close, but I've been trying to spend the last couple of days trying to figure out. I know half their roster is in the transfer portal. They've lost their coach. There's very little information out there about who's playing, how many players they're playing, of all those players that are in the transfer portal, which ones are sticking around. But here's the worst part. I don't even know who the hell's coaching this basketball team right now. I'm assuming it's not Alex Jensen, the new coach, but maybe he's lurking in the weeds. I'm assuming it's an assistant interim coach who may or may not even have a job by the end of the week. So it is kind of weird. And you wonder the Utah motivation factor. I think Boise State is going to be highly motivated. Their core players, their 9 core players, they're all together. They're in it for the reason. I think they're in it for the right reason, having spent some time with this program. I think that they're happy and fired up and motivated. But that's 9 guys who have hit lightning in a bottle in a postseason basketball tournament that doesn't really create that kind of a buzz. So I would imagine there's 2 or 3 or 4 other teams in this tournament who have that same kind of motivated feeling. I would imagine most teams in this tournament are just kind of going through the motions, and unfortunately, one of those teams is probably my beloved Utes.
Well, which is one of the reasons why, even here at Circa, Boise State is the favorite to win this tournament. Mike Prater, they were the highest-ranked net team to not get in the NCAA tournament, and a lot of the odds makers and things say, okay, this looks like a team that probably is motivated to try to win this thing, whether it be Tyson Degenhardt as a senior going out on top. And he has, I think, 29 points, is it, Mike Prater, from 2000 for his career, which would be a nice round number. He's, I think, within 50 of the single season scoring record at Boise State as well. So he's still playing for some things, even though I do think getting the scoring record off his chest, maybe a little bit of a deep breath, and maybe he plays a little freer in this tournament too, not having to worry about that. Rafael Castro, by the way, is the name of the big man for George Washington. Rafael Castro averaging 14 points, 9.1 rebounds, 2.6 blocks per game. He's actually the kind of player you'd like to see Boise State get in the transfer portal in terms of a center that can block some shots and impact the game down there. But somebody had in the and I do want to transition here shortly to Leon Rice in your column, Mike, but just to kind of wrap up this part of the discussion, Bronco 130 says, if we don't win today, how much of a step back is it for the program? In terms of you saying if they win this tournament, maybe it does become at least somewhat of a successful season here to finish it off. On the flip side, if they were to go one and done in this tournament, or even lose on Wednesday and not even make the weekend of this thing and be here in Vegas for just a couple of days, how much stock are you putting on this tournament, I guess, in terms of what it means heading into the offseason here?
Yeah, I mean, I'll go back and just say the tournament itself is dumb, but the opportunity is fantastic. And if they can take advantage of that opportunity, that's fine. If they lose today, if they lose on Wednesday, then you kind of say, oh, well, that's just kind of par for this kind of season. They kind of got there. They kind of got close. We saw a little bit of progress. They did something that they'd never done, but they couldn't quite close the door here. So I think that's what's the cool opportunity here is, just the opportunity to do something different and create a little bit of buzz. And if they can get into the semifinals, or hell, if they can even win this thing, I think there is going to be a feel-good moment here in Boise, Idaho, because this basketball team doesn't win basketball games in March. It doesn't win basketball games. They've never played. I'm assuming Boise State basketball has never played a basketball game in April. And if they can win today, they'll be playing in April. And that's certainly a different kind of an opportunity. So, yeah, don't worry about the tournament. Kind of focus on the opportunity, and let's see what this basketball team does with this opportunity. I have a feeling that, again, I wouldn't know George Washington if it walked into this office right now, but it seems like that this basketball team for Boise State is motivated enough to make a decent run in this tournament and create a little bit of local buzz here in Boise.
Mike Prater, out of context, I wouldn't know George Washington if he walked in the
the old guy, I would know. I've seen those pictures, but yes, you got me on that one.
Well, we will finish up at the very end of the show by getting Mike Prater's bracket prediction here on this tournament as we see what his favorite potential championship matchup would be. But I do want to talk about Mike's column. I hope you had a chance to read it at BroncoNationNews.com. We will get to that in just a second, but you're watching a free show here on social media thanks to some of our great sponsors, and I want to make sure they get love here briefly before we get back to the discussion on Leon Rice. RoePaint.com is our title sponsor, RoePaint.com. All your painting needs, concrete coatings, interior, exterior painting. I highly recommend it, folks. Hit up our title sponsor, RoePaint.com. Taco Bell, TacoBellWorks.com. The SON Management Group, the Nicolason family, they are hiring. Great opportunities for jobs. The food is pretty darn good as well. Went to Taco Bell last night for the family. Had some tacos after a Sunday of baseball games. Perfect, quick, cheap, easy meal on the way home. Taco Bell. Get more information about the Treasure Valley Taco Bell locations, and they are hiring. Get more information there at TacoBellWorks.com. Idaho Central Credit Union, ICCU.com. There's a branch pretty much on every corner, but the easiest is that mobile e-branch online banking right there in your smartphone. ICCU.com. Man, love ICCU. Glad we made the switch. I know Mike Prater's glad he made the switch as well. Get more information, Idaho Central Credit Union, ICCU.com. Hey, the $3 meal deal is going on at Jackson's. Get a Tornado and a Gatorade water or fountain drink for $3 at Jackson's. And if you're a little hungrier, how about the $5 meal deal? 2 hot dogs and a kettle chips. That's $5 at our friends at Jackson's. And don't forget the 99-cent coffee anytime, day or night, using that Let's Go Rewards app. Snake River Pool and Spa, Patio and Game, thespateam.com, locations in Twin Falls, Boise, Meridian, Nampa, been around since 1978. Snake River Pool and Spa, whether it's a spa, whether it's a sauna, whether it's a pool table, they got you covered. Again, the website, thespateam.com. That's Snake River Pool and Spa, Patio and Game. Hey, the Blue and Orange store, they got all kinds of Boise State official coaches, sideline apparel, jerseys, gear, the best hat selection in town. That clearance rack at the front of the store is the best value in town. If you're in town, just go to the Boise Town Square Mall, the second floor next to Pro Image there. If you are outside the Boise area, just order online anywhere in the world, the blueandorangestore.com. I know you have a lot of options around town, around the world to get your Boise State gear, but you won't find better prices and better selection than the Blue and Orange store, the blueandorangestore.com. Hey, Lithia, Florida, Boise, they'll be sponsoring our pregame show. We'll be live at 2:30 Mountain Time today. We'll get you set for Idaho Sports Talk. A little lead in there, 2:30, Lithia, Florida, Boise pregame show. Abe Jackson will join me. We'll hear from Leon Rice. We'll get you set for Boise State and George Washington. That's the Lithia, Florida, Boise pregame show. Lithia Ford Boise, view their full inventory of vehicles online at lithiafordboise.com, and they got some great deals and things going on right now, so I highly recommend checking out Lithia Ford Boise online at lithiafordofboise.com. All right, Mike Prater, tremendous column. I hope folks get a chance to go read it. And, I was talking to Leon Rice a couple days ago, before I had read your column, and I said, yeah, I appreciate you giving, Mike's excited about the column. Thank you for giving him the time. And he goes, yeah, it's interesting because I think he went into this going to go one way with the column, and I think it might have turned out a different way here. Maybe give the backstory on this. You've obviously over the years, you've known Leon Rice, but you've had an up and down relationship, over the years, and he gave you some time the last couple of days, and you put pen to paper with kind of your thoughts and your experience of getting to be around Leon.
Yeah, I went into this project thinking, I've said a lot of things about Leon Rice's basketball program over the years, and I stand by almost all of them, whether they're my emotions, whether they're accurate, whether anything. I just, I've always given my opinions pretty candidly about Boise State basketball and pretty honest feelings. And I just felt, I wanted to give Leon kind of his voice. And so I walked into this project thinking, okay, Leon, here's the premise. Because he did. At one point he said, I need to know what you're thinking about, why we're doing this and why I'm going to spend some time here. And I said, I just want to be able to give your voice for your perspective about this program. I'm constantly giving mine in public. What's yours, Leon? Let's talk big picture here. Let's talk little picture here. Let's talk behind the scenes. What is your perspective about Boise State basketball? Free forum, go. And I'm going to write about it. And kind of through this project and a couple of days, I got to spend a couple of days with him and with, I don't want to say it's one of those cheesy all access things, but we hung out in his office, locker rooms, practiced, the team complex over a couple of days, spent a couple of hours with him. And about halfway through, I was just getting this overwhelming strong, and me, I'm not the cheesy, it's a family connection type of thing. That's just not my style, but there was this overwhelming sense of family. And I can't stand the word culture when it comes to sports, although culture is a very powerful thing. I just happen to think it's very, very overused. So I try to stay away from the culture thing and really focus on this family. And it's really cool. Just the big picture stuff, the little picture stuff, and how this basketball team operates and how this basketball team, kind of functions and feeds off of each other. And it's really, really cool to see. So it was a different perspective for me, and talking to Leon about some stories and the epiphany he had one day hanging out with Dan Hawkins, who we all know is kind of the king of culture. And he just had this epiphany, and he said, I'm juggling X's and O's. I'm juggling culture. I'm juggling all this kind of stuff. But everybody tells me that the culture side of sports and the culture side of what I'm doing is the most important thing. And if I love to do that, and it's the most important thing, why don't I focus on that 24/7, 365? So I'm going to sit here and tell you, and this may rub people wrong, Leon Rice isn't sitting around stressing about the on-ball screen or roster management or that kind of stuff. He wakes up every morning, he goes through the roster one name at a time, and he thinks, how can I help this guy? How can I help this guy? I mean, we went into specifics about Omar Stanley, and he's kind of Omar Stanley's kind of been the backdrop of this basketball team this year in terms of ups and downs and the mental side and the physical side of the sport. And he went into a lot of details that I won't share about how you take care of a family member. And I just thought it was really strong, and I thought it was really powerful. So when I came back the second day, I said, Coach, I've changed my mind. You don't have an open forum anymore to tell me your perspective. I'm going to tell my story again, but I'm going to tell it through a different story, a different perspective about the family that just kind of really rocked my world. He's got this pretty cool book. He doesn't like to share a lot of the details because, quote unquote, coaches steal, but this the unbreakable culture, the 5 maxims, the family rules of Boise State basketball, and the details inside. And he wrote this entire book, and he keeps it on his recruiting table there in the office, and it was a pretty powerful thing. And I actually took it home to my wife and said, honey, look at this. And it kind of backfired on me because she goes, do you mind if I highlight a few things? I said, sure, no problem. And I thought she was going to highlight a few things that kind of stood out to her about what Leon Rice was saying about his program. And then she turned around and said, the things that I highlighted are things that you could incorporate into your life, Mike, and make yourself better. So I got a little lesson of my own medicine, and it was a fun project to have, and it was pretty cool to do it.
Yeah, he's got that book right there on his coffee table in his office there. I mean, dare we say Leon Rice, a more accomplished author than Mike Prater?
Well, it's really short. It's really short. It's like 5 pages. So I think I could fit one of my entire columns into this thing, but it's really, really good. Just in terms of, he's got 5 different, and I talk about it in the column, he's got 5 different maxims, and under each maxim, he's got 3, 4, or 5 daily behaviors. He expects this basketball family to check off a daily behavior in about 20 different categories every single day. He doesn't expect you to be perfect. He used one example, like I'll use Marcus Shaver. At one point, Marcus Shaver, when he was playing basketball at Boise State, was really struggling. And Leon gave him this book and said, go home and check the boxes of what you're doing. And that created a conversation between those two that he said really helped Marcus Shaver toward the end of his career. So there's anecdotal stuff, and there's really, really powerful stuff that works. And it's really, really fascinating to see. So I stripped everything of basketball and just kind of talked about family. And what I saw down there was pretty impressive and pretty cool. And maybe one day they can take that family connection and they can get that basketball magic and do some magical things in a postseason tournament other than the Crown Tournament.
And I know, Mike, one of the columns you wrote a couple years ago that at the time at least may have rubbed Leon the wrong way or irked him was you mentioned something about them just being he's comfortable over there and maybe didn't wake up with the same urgency that Andy Avalos had, and mentioned bringing his dogs to work and stuff. And I know, like you said, at the time, stand by what you said, whatever, who cares? I'm not even going back to that. I'm just saying that was kind of the thought process. Hey, Leon Rice is comfortable where he's at. He doesn't feel a ton of pressure, whatever. And then, Bronco 130 chimes in here and says maybe he should spend more time on X's and O's and less on culture. What is as you kind of dove into this the last couple of days, that give and take in terms of basketball coach versus mentor versus father figure versus, as you said, maybe does more with less than any coach in college basketball in terms of, and which is what I've always said. People want to call me a Leon apologist, whatever, but every year you're going to win 20 plus games. Every year you're going to be in the mix for some sort of postseason tournament, and you're going to find a team that's fun to watch for the most part and get competitive games. And for me, if I'm a fan of a top 25 football team that's going to the playoff, that's all I need for basketball. Just give me some fun games, keep me in the mix every year, and especially when you dive in and find out some of the NIL deficiencies and other deficiencies in terms of, a San Diego State has over twice the budget of a Boise State basketball. Utah State is now paying their coach almost double what Leon Rice is making. They really and I get it. They're 0-10, he's 0-5. They're in the crown this week and not the big dance. I'm not making excuses. I understand it, but big picture wise, where Boise State basketball is as a whole compared to where it's been for many of the years you've been following it, Mike Prater. I know people want that March Madness success, but big picture, how do you kind of weigh and was your opinion changed at all the last couple of days hanging out with Leon Rice about expectations and all that? And as he says, maybe more time on X's and O's and less on culture.
Yeah, I still believe Leon Rice is very comfortable. He's got a comfortable contract. He's got a comfortable job. There isn't a lot of pressure. He has a comfortable lifestyle. And sometimes I do wish there was a little bit more of a sense of urgency and a fire under his butt, but that's just not how he operates, guys. And this last comment, by whatever that reader is, the listener that you pointed out, that's ignorant. Come on, guys. That's the kind of stuff that I'm trying to get your head to get out of the sand. And that's kind of ignorant feelings because that guy doesn't know what he's talking about. And Leon Rice feels like the strength of what he does is provide the human element to this basketball program. He's also got two head coaches, former head coaches on his staff that are in charge of the X's and O's and the development. Now, that doesn't mean Leon Rice doesn't spend a lot of time on X's and O's and development. He's not walking around just being dad, patting people on the ass. He's very much involved. But Burns is in charge of the defense. Duryea is in charge of the offense. They have big man development guys, and they have a staff that's supposed to be in charge of that. And Leon Rice is the bigger picture guy, and that's okay. I'm okay with that. Excuse me. So it does take a village to put this thing together, and that was the eye opener that I had. So again, I wish Leon Rice had a little bit more sense of urgency. This team desperately needs to go on some kind of a run. I'm sick and tired, and I really am impatient. And the context here is I covered Boise State in 1993 and 1994. That was 30 years ago, guys, when they went to back-to-back NCAA tournaments, and they lost both of them. And here I am 30 years later, still kind of waiting for my hometown, for my home state team. There's an emotion in here. I grew up in this state. I grew up watching and following Boise State, Idaho State. And I love all three of these universities equally as a state guy, as a guy who grew up in the state and is more proud of the state of Idaho than anything else. And 30 years later, I'm still waiting for Leon Rice and not so much Leon Rice, for this basketball program to do something big, to have that Fiesta Bowl moment. And I think a Fiesta Bowl moment for basketball, just get to the Sweet 16. Can you imagine if Boise State basketball got to the Sweet 16, how much buzz there would be in this community? I'm just asking for that once. And get that big old fat monkey off the back of your neck and see if you can grow this program. So this program is growing. I think Leon Rice is doing all the right things. Sometimes I wish there was a little bit more of a sense of urgency, and we could break down some deficiencies when it comes to the X's and O's. Those things in season drive me crazy. And there's a lot of things we can talk about, but that was not the purpose of this column.
At the end of the column, Mike, you said, quote, "The health of Boise State basketball has never been stronger. Frustration will always be a part of the past, but the challenges ahead are exciting and loaded with opportunity." Well, what sense did you get moving forward here in terms of investing in the program and NIL and the budget and just where Leon Rice is with this program moving forward here in terms of, there's that 1% of fans that they want them to move on to Leon Rice. I mean, you guys made a whole segment on your show about Leon Rice fatigue a couple weeks ago. I mean, it's any fan base, there's always going to be detractors, people that don't like the coach. I get it, but just big picture moving forward here, regardless of kind of what happens in the crown here. What's your take on Leon and the future of this program moving forward?
Well, this offseason is going to be just massive. I mean, as you know, he's going to have to rebuild this entire roster. He's going to have to replace Tyson Degenhardt. He's chasing a guard. He's chasing support guys. He's chasing a big guy. But the resources are growing. I mean, I don't know how much this is public, and I think you've reported it, or maybe you haven't. I'm not sure. I know you know this, but they sent one of their assistant coaches to Africa looking for a point guard. They're doing things now that they've never been able to do before in terms of raising money and NIL and resources and all this kind of stuff. So I think it's pretty cool that this program continues to grow. It's just not fast enough for me, but this offseason is going to be fascinating to see what's going to happen. You're going to have to replace one of the greatest players in the history of Boise State basketball. And we'll see. I mean, there was progress this last year. The fan support was pretty cool this year and what they've done. I know that they have a lot more work to do, but I just want to see how Leon Rice builds this roster, because to me, this is one of the biggest roster rebuilds he's going to have in an awful long time. And moving forward next year, if they can win this tournament or get deep into this tournament, that's going to create some pretty cool momentum, open up some eyes, open up some recruiting opportunities. But I think Boise State basketball is in a position to chase things, chase tools, chase resources that they've never had before. I just wish they would do it with a little bit more of a sense of urgency.
Yeah, Mike Burns, Africa. I believe he also went to Turkey at some point in the fall. I mean, yeah, they're out there trying to find guys wherever they can, and they've got multiple spots available. So, I mean, they hit on 2 of 3. I mean, they hit on Buchanan. They hit on Cardenas. Obviously didn't work with Dylan Anderson. I don't know would you take 2 of 3 in the portal again next year, Mike, or they need to go 3 of 3, or what do you make of?
No, 2 or 3 is, anybody who expects the transfer portal to be 100% perfect, you guys are crazy. So a 67% transfer portal success rate, Sign me up for that all day long, every day, BJ.
Well, it's a great column. I hope folks go read it at BroncoNationNews.com. It is behind the paywall, so hopefully you'll subscribe. Check it out. Great stuff, Mike. Really appreciate you for doing that. And, Josh says this was the Sweet 16 season if it wasn't for Buzo leaving for USC. That was obviously a big loss for them, but that leads us to our final 3 minutes here, Mike Prater. I want to get your dream matchup, your dream prediction here. But first, I do want to thank Matt Bauscher real quick. BauscherRealEstate.com. Matt Bauscher, #1 ranked realtor in the Treasure Valley. Check him out online at Matt Bauscher, BauscherRealEstate.com. Ridley's Family Markets, ShopRidleys.com. 13 locations across the state of Idaho and the surrounding states. Download that Skip app. Get savings up to 40% off at the checkout line. More information, find a location near you at shopridleys.com. Transportation compliance service, transcompservice.com. Trucking company helping folks get into the trucking industry all over the world. It's based right here in the Treasure Valley. All the permits and things you need. Check them out online at transcompservice.com. Lean Feast, leanfeastmeridian.com. Healthy meal options, steak, shrimp, chicken, fish, you name it. They're feeding the football team. They're feeding the basketball team. They can feed you as well. Check them out. Lean Feast. leanfeastmeridian.com. And our friends at Signature Roofing bring you our voice inbox line, speakpipe.com/BNN. That's speakpipe.com/BNN. Signature Roofing, covering our community more than 2 decades. They're the sponsor. Whether it's a re-roof or repair, an estimate, and inspection, they got you covered. Signature Roofing, covering our community. Again, mysignatureroofing.com. All right, Mike Prater. By the way, we had our giveaway for a free trip down here. Our winner, Brad, and his wife, Sarah, they'll be flying down on Friday, hoping that Boise State is still alive for the semifinals here. They'll be going to the semifinals and finals, hanging out here at Circa. There's a big party on Friday for the Crown, the official Friday pool party before the Final Four is here at Circa. So we'll have more content coming this week. Our winner, Brad, had purchased a couple raffle tickets, and we are excited that he is going to be down here at the College Basketball Crown, thanks to Circa and our folks at BNN. But all right, I got the bracket on the screen here, Mike Prater. A lot of folks want to see that Chibuzo-Abo USC matchup in the championship game for Boise State. I don't know if you'd rather see them play Utah or Butler tomorrow, if that'd be weird or fun or what, but just final thing, your quick thoughts on this bracket and what would kind of be the Mike Prater dream run here for Boise State?
Well, I'm definitely rooting for Utah to lose because I don't want them to have to play Boise State. Anytime Utah plays Boise State in basketball or football, it doesn't go my way. So let's just eliminate that. And Utah's already given up again. Interim coach, interim roster, complete total chaos. So go Georgia, not Georgia, but go Butler Bulldogs there. It's hard for me to say here, but I'm gonna go on the opposite side of the bracket. Let's throw a little Villanova. Boise State, Villanova would be a dream matchup. Again, it's all about the motivation, and I don't think the USCs of the world are motivated. I can't see a USC basketball team that wasn't that very good during the regular season, and what they lost like 7 of their last 9 games. Why would they be motivated? Why would a USC athlete be motivated by something like this? So go ahead and dream, and maybe it does happen because I'm certainly no expert, but I don't see it. Villanova is chasing national championships in the NCAA tournament on a regular basis, so they may not be motivated by something like this, but I kind of went and looked at some of the teams that finished strong, and none of them finished strong. That's why they're in this tournament, but Villanova had some decent success. They know how to handle themselves. I think it's a mature program that can handle the postseason, and it has a big name. I think Boise State Villanova would be fantastic. Now, ideally, it'd be really cool. Boise State, like a Boise State Oregon State. That would create some pretty cool storylines, but Oregon State is not a good basketball team right now.
Yeah, you could pick a lot of different scenarios here. I think a Washington State rematch could be kind of cool. I mean, Georgetown, they're having a rough year, but that's a cool name, Georgetown. If Boise State were to play them, maybe in the semifinals, and yeah, Villanova, Mike Prater, I'm sure you know this, has the leading scorer in the nation on their roster, and he's playing in this tournament as well. I mean, a Cincinnati. There's a lot of cool matchups here, but again, all gets going today at 3:30 Mountain Time. Boise State and George Washington. We'll have our live at Lithia, Florida Boise pregame show at 2:30 Boise time on the social media channels of BNN. If they win that first game, they'll play either Utah or Butler with, as we said, $50,000 on the line. If they win that, they'll go to what I'm sure is going to be a sellout crowd at T-Mobile Arena. 20,000, I'm sure we'll pack in there, Mike Prater, for this one. But you know what? All things considered, we can joke about this tournament, whatever, but I do think it has some potential. They got a couple name teams in it here for the first year, mostly Power 5 teams. I think that's good for the first year of this thing. Get it off the ground, see what happens. But cool opportunity for Boise State, and excited to kick this thing off today. As I said, Mike, kind of weird. You have the final 4 teams left. You have 4 in the NIT, and as we said, Boise State, the final Mountain West team, still alive. So cool opportunity for him, and we'll see what happens this week.
Yeah, good luck down there. Chase that money question down for me. I'm curious as to exactly how this money thing works. And at the end of the day, Boise State is playing for money. They're playing for a carrot at the end of the season, and I think it's pretty cool. So, we're doing Idaho Sports Talk today live, just 3 to 6 right through that basketball game. So stick with us, and then you can jump on either Bob or BJ's pregame and postgame show. But we're fired up. We're excited here. I know there's some football press conferences today, and practice resumes tomorrow, and our focus will always be on football first. But I think it's a cool opportunity. When was the last time I got to watch Boise State in a postseason tournament at 3:30 on a Monday afternoon? And the fact that they're chasing money and this really cool basketball family gets to hang out together for a couple of days. So, BJ, the only real question left as we round up this show is, and I asked this to Leon the other day. I said, you could either be down there for a day or you could be down there for a week. How many pairs of underwear are you taking? And he gave the perfect answer. And one more reason why I'm falling in love with Leon Rice just a little bit more. He said, one pair of underwear. It's my lucky pair of underwear and laundry service after every game. So Leon Rice has got to figure it out. BJ, how many pairs of underwear did you pack for this tournament?
I got enough to get me to a week from now, next Monday. And that was quite the hotel check-in when he's like, hey, it looks like you're staying with us till next Monday. I'm like, yes, I am. That was a first for me. But I actually may sneak back to Boise Thursday and Friday because they don't play for 2 days. And I've got some points and the flights were pretty cheap. So I may come back and help out at a baseball practice or two and do Friday's show from this back in my house and then fly back Friday night. We'll see if they win Wednesday. May sneak back home for a couple of days. This is a long time to be away from family and be down here, but it should be fun. Appreciate you. A lot of great love coming in. Deb Grant says, love the column, Mike. A lot of people on the chat liking the column and saying nice work on that. So again, nice work on that. Thanks for that. Thanks for jumping on here and doing this today. Mike, glad it worked out timing wise, and enjoy the game today and looking forward to it, and appreciate all you guys for your comments and everything. And yeah, make sure you listen. You listen to me from 2:30 to 3, and then you can listen to Mike and the whole crew over there on Idaho Sports Talk from 3 to 6, and we'll have our post-game show as well. Live coverage all week from, I guess they're starting at the MGM Garden. You ever been in the Garden Arena there?
I have not been in the – I've been to a concert. I guess I have, but it was for a concert. It wasn't for a sporting event. I always wanted to go there. That's the home of all the classic boxing matches. When you walk into that arena, I think they've refurbished it and remodeled it, but the ghosts of Mike Tyson and Ali and all these famous boxers hanging out at the MGM Garden. Pretty cool scene.
Oh, I didn't know that. I'll have to check that out. All right, have a great rest of your day, everybody. We'll talk to you at 2:30 for the pregame show on our social media channels. Make sure you listen to them 3 to 6. The game, Bob and Abe, is on 670 on the AM side, and then Bob, the whole crew here on Idaho Sports Talk will be on the FM side, 95.3 FM, The Ticket. So a lot of different shows and things, and the beauty of ours is, and Mike and Johnny's as well, is that they'll have their podcast up. We'll have our show archived, so if you miss one of them live, you can go back and whether it's KTIK.com or their app and the other spots as well. So appreciate it, Mike. Sorry we went a couple minutes long here. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. We'll talk to you later. See you at 2:30 postseason basketball here in Boise, Idaho. We got you covered. Bronco Nation News and KTIK.
Bronco Nation News is presented by our title sponsor, RowPaint.com. Our major sponsors, Idaho Central Credit Union, Taco Bell, Lithia Ford, the Blue and Orange Store, Jackson's, and our contributing sponsors, Signature Roofing, Western Collective, Snake River Pool and Spa, Transportation Compliance Service, Boucher Real Estate, Ridley's Family Markets, Circa Las Vegas, Lean Feast, and Timberstone Golf Course.